can hear the music. Oh man, it's banging. Yo, how I do? Always get ready with a bit of jazz music. Well, this is not exactly jazz, it's lo-fi actually. But welcome to it. Welcome. Been away for a while. Um, but there's a lot going on in South African politics. I mean, hard to keep up. So recently I was thinking about this BELA Bill. Um, I don't know if you saw this conversation by Buddy Lebutler, where he was talking about the economics of South Africa and the different demographics and how they are doing. It doesn't paint a good picture for Africans in South Africa, but there's a lot of resistance to change. So, welcome to Ubuntu Awakening, um, where we dive into issues, uh, shaping South Africa and the world today. We're talking about the basic education laws amendment bill, or the BELA Bill, and the controversies surrounding it. Is it really a threat to Afrikaans? Does it, as some claim, aim to produce or to introduce inappropriate education for children? Or is this fear mongering, distracting us from the real issues? So let's unpack this BELA Bill, see what it's all about, and see what it actually says. And what the debate reveals about South Africa's journey as a rainbow nation. So, I mean, if you've been listening to me, I have many questions about this whole idea of a rainbow nation. And I'll tell you why when we get to the end. But first, let's look at the BELA Bill overview. What are some of the main points being made? Okay, first, uh, it proposes to make grade R compulsory, ensuring early childhood education is accessible to every child. South African Sign Language is officially recognized for educational purposes. School governing bodies must submit their language and admission policies for approval to ensure inclusivity. I think that's where the problem is. Inclusivity, transformation, change. You see who the opposition is? The DA, AfriForum, Freedom Front Plus, Solidarity. You get my drift? No desire for change. These changes aim to promote equity in education, making sure no child is left behind, especially in our diverse linguistic and cultural communities in the Rainbow Nation, right? Don't we want to bundle all our kids together to show that this Rainbow Nation thing is a thing? Why do why are why is a significant number of white people in this country opposed to integration? Hmm? Integration? I thought that was the objective of the Rainbow Nation. Kanti senzani la? What are we doing? Okay, let's go on. Now let's address the claims. Let's address some of the major claims being made about the bill. Afrikaans is under threat. Helen Zille has suggested that this bill aims to destroy Afrikaans. But when we examine the text, we find the opposite. The bill seeks to expand Language options were possible, promoting multilingualism. Again, another pillar, the Rainbow Nation. Oh, by the way, I'm coming to you from Sandton today. Just left Durban today, arrived here in Sandton, coming to you live from Sandton. Greetings, the Joe Beggars. I'm here. I'm here, brothers and sisters. Let's examine Helen Zille more. The bill seeks to expand language options where possible, promoting multilingualism. It's not about removing Afrikaans, but ensuring other children also have access to education in their mother tongues. The fear that Afrikaans is being eliminated is simply not supported by the bill. Fear mongering. Yo, you remember the DA, the same thing they did to us with Doomsday Coalition, EFF, MK, ANC. You remember all that? I see it in the same light. I see it in the same light, brothers and sisters. And I'm waiting for Zille to demonstrate, because you see, this is just talk. It's just propaganda. Now, you see, I want us to get away from all the noise and actually look at what the bill says and what it doesn't say. I looked at the bill. I didn't see the part where it threatens to get rid of Afrikaans, eliminate Afrikaans. It's just a fear of change, fear of integration. Moreover, we know white people in this country, when they first arrived, their first instinct was to establish a separate system, a discriminatory system, discriminatory legislative system. So I'm not surprised that a large portion of them would still desire for that separation. Not surprised, not offended. I am observing the reality as it unfolds. Now, another claim. Now, this I heard from this lady, I forget her name. I think she's a colored lady. I think she's associated with the ACDP, DA, or something like that. All right, hold on a second. Someone at the door. I'll be right back. So good. All right, I'm back. Let's continue. So let us look at the other claims regarding this bill. So the claim is that the bill introduces inappropriate sex education. This is what this lady said. If I remember her name, I'll bring it to you. But interestingly, these are people who, during COVID-19, I sided with in terms of uh, sovereignty, the citizen sovereignty to decide, and bodily autonomy. We agreed on that, individual rights and so on. I'm all about sovereignty for the citizen in dealing with the state because I don't trust the state. I don't trust big business. And so the protection of the individual rights of the citizen become important because we can trust these folks. And that's just my position. It would be great if I could trust them with my rights and everything, but it's evident I cannot. So these are people I would normally align with, but I must disagree with this because it's just not accurate. So the claim is that the bill introduces inappropriate sex education. Obviously, again, I would be opposed to that for my own daughter. You know what I mean? But I mean, let's deal with the facts. So the claim is that the bill aims to prevent children from sex education. This is completely unfounded. There is no mention of sex education in the bill. This narrative distracts us from engaging with the actual provisions of the bill and the real work we are trying to do here, right? To integrate South Africa as a rainbow nation so that we can all love one another and prosper together and all of that stuff. So why the opposition? to this. We should all, as South Africans, be on board, right? Now, this brings me to the next point, the importance of understanding policies. Why is it that we listen to Helen Zille, Julius Malema, Cyril Ramaphosa on policy matters when the policies are written? You can go and read yourself. You know, I watched, what is this brother's name? Mashal, politically incorrect. He was asking people about the bill. You know what stood out to me? A lot of people couldn't tell you which sections of the bill says what they claim. Hmm? They can't tell you. They couldn't tell him which part of the bill says what they are claiming it says. They couldn't show him. See, we South Africans, we can't do that. If we're engaging on policy matters, let us engage with the police and not the propaganda that these politicians are busy giving us. What does the bill actually say? Hmm? So, it is important to engage with policies based on what they actually say. Misinterpretations and fear mongering not only mislead people, but also polarize our society unnecessarily. We owe it to ourselves to have informed conversations, especially about something as important as education, which shapes our children's future. Let's have a real conversation based on the facts, not this fear mongering. Oh, they're trying to kill Afrikaans. Oh, they're trying to pervert our children. Let us deal with the facts. I'm with you. I don't want my kid to be perverted. I don't want my children to be excluded from mother tongue education. I want my child to have mother tongue education. Sure, let the Afrikaner children have mother tongue education too. But it is clear to me on the question of integration, a significant number of the white population is not interested. Now, I disagree with Helen Zille's position on this, but there is something she raised which I think we need to pay very close attention to. My brother King said so, founder and president of PASETA, the Pan African School of Economics, uh, Technology and Agriculture, PASETA. I am part of that project, brothers and sisters, and again, my brother covered this subject. And again, this question he brought up, and I want you to indulge me for a second. So, this is Helen Zille's question to us as African people. It is a question to certain entities in government, but it's an African government, right? Black people leading the government. She asked this question. Now listen to this. Helen Zille raised an important question. What has the Pan South African Language Board done for African languages over the past 30 years? Now, I, as I've told you, studied linguistics. The focus of my research was language policy in South Africa. Not much has happened. I gotta tell you, in terms of developing African languages, not much has happened. The Pan South African Language Board is there, which is charged with the duty to deal with these issues. The different language units for the different African languages units exist. Languages still not developed enough to be used in education. You gotta tell me. I mean, what do you think? Does any of this make sense to you? So Helen Zille asked the question, what has the Pan South African Language Board or Pan-SALB done for the African languages in the last 30 years? It's a fair question, I think. It's a valid critique pointing to the limited progress we've made in developing and promoting African languages. Now, Africans, as we get to the conclusion of our conversation, I want you to hear that now we gotta take some accountability on these issues. We gotta take some accountability and responsibility on these issues, these matters. What have we done for our languages? How much have we invested in them? And so on, and questions like that. If you look at, for example, the development of Afrikaans, the entire community was involved. They did not only use the state. The state was there at their disposal, there to support them, but the community itself fought for the land. And that's why you see today, Afrikaners, almost all Afrikaners in South Africa will defend the Afrikaans language. A large number of them will, to the death too, you know? And the thing that strikes me as a linguist when I say to my people, hey, we need to develop our languages, man, let's do something, is like, yo, nah, why should we? And so you see, we don't understand the importance of mother tongue education for our children. To understand what they're being taught, to understand what they're being taught. Instead of trying to cram their head full of things that they don't really understand so that they can pass, but that they engage in education, understanding what they're dealing with. Doesn't that sound like a progressive move, Africans? And so I will always advocate for the use of mother tongue, in education for African children. Because remember, we are trying here to get our children to a stronger position so that as Africans in the future, we are in a stronger position. I hope you get that, brothers and sisters. Now, um, it is a valid critique that Helen Zille raises there about Pan-SALB and us as Africans, what we've done for our languages over the years. This question underscores the need for institutions that genuinely serve the needs of our people and reflect our values. Which brings me to a broader reflection, building African-centered institutions. I remember when I was still at UJ, when I sat, with the Pan-Africanists, the progressive forces, and we were talking about transformation in our education. We must push for transformation, decolonization, and so on. I said, yes, but can we also consider building African institutions from scratch? They were like, no, man, it's too hard. The resources are here at UJ. So this is where we must fight and antagonize. Okay, I hear that. Let's fight and antagonize. But do you also think maybe there's value in building our own institutions? Take care of our children's needs? We as Africans must take responsibility for building our own institutions. For too long, we've tried to force our children into environments that are often unwelcoming. This not only traumatizes them, but also reflects our collective failure to create spaces where they can thrive. So, one of the issues I have, I hear it, I hear the argument, we must integrate schooling systems in South Africa. It's in line, with what's trying to be achieved. 94 dream, 1994 dream, Mandela and Tutu's dream. But in, why are we sending our children into these schools to go and do battle? Because that's what they're going to be faced with. Even if you say you are implementing this BELA Bill, when the children get to those Afrikaans schools, you best believe they are in for a fight. But why must our children fight fights that we postponed? Eh? Why must our children be sent to these schools? We should have already dealt with this matter so that our children don't have to deal with this stuff. Now our children not only have to go to school and study no, they must also deal with politics of race and all of this stuff. No, Africans. Huh? And this is when now I throw the ball back to us. Come through. Go on King Said So. Hear about the Pan-African School of Economics, Technology and Agriculture, and get involved. let us build some things. Let's build institutions. Let's get together, let's organize ourselves and build things for ourselves. Protect our children, man, from that trauma. This is why I'm proud to be part of the Pan-African School of Economics, Technology, and Agriculture, an initiative aimed at building African-centered institutions. These are spaces designed to nurture African minds, preserve our cultures, and equip our youth to lead in a globalized world. When are we going to start thinking about Africans leading in the world? I mean, we're always following. Either we go with the West or the East. Either we are the lackeys of the United States or Russia or China or someone else. You, you're not tired of this? Don't you want to develop African minds in the future that go on to be independent, creative, innovative? You know what I mean? Sovereign. Isn't that the idea? Instead of these being these independent lackeys. Now, as I conclude, I want to leave you with a thought. The Rainbow Nation ideal. So let's ask if the opposition to the BELA Bill isn't really about its content, what's driving it? Now, I believe this is resistance to integration, to change. If there is one thing that the white elite in this country, the minority in this country fear is change, the idea of change scares them, freaks them out. I believe it's resistance to integration and change. South Africa, post 1994, was founded on the principle of being a rainbow nation, right? A vision of people of all colors and ethnicities working together and so on. But 30 years on, this ideal is starting to unravel for me. So for many in my generation, maybe those who are in their late 20s, 30s, those who were maybe born just before 94, those of us who have observed the past 30 years, this dream feels increasingly out of reach. And ANC, you got to come with a new concept. Rainbow Nation don't resonate with us, your children, basically. Our parents came out of 94 as professionals, nurses, teachers, and so on. They tried to give us a life. And then in the 30 years that came after that, our experience. Try being a young black person in South Africa. You will tell me. A significant portion of the white community seems uninterested in the integration that this ideal requires. This rainbow nation ideal, a lot of the whites are not interested. It's difficult, therefore, as an African person, to relate to the rainbow nation narrative when the evidence suggests otherwise. Now, I will even venture to say, even the idea of being patriotic is difficult because what are you patriotic to? Something that, deal with what is of interest to you, solves your problems. You know what I mean? So the patriotism for me is difficult to find because we can't band together under this idea of South Africa when we're not clear exactly what we're doing. Because for me, I've just shown you, for me, the rainbow idea falls apart. I don't see it. I'm just dealing, you know me, I don't like dealing with propaganda in the news, I like to, and that's why I'm interested in political realism, that John Mearsheimer talks about. Because I want to get to the core of the issues. Beyond the noise on the media, the propaganda, what is actually happening in a practical sense? Economically, politically, militarily, what is taking place in real time? not what people are talking about and all that propaganda being spread by the different parties, you know. So this debate around the BELA Bill reminds us that we need to rethink our societal goals. Instead of clinging to ideals that may no longer resonate, ANC, let's focus on building inclusive systems and institutions that cater to the realities and aspirations of the African majority, the forgotten, the neglected, the ones that you said you come in to serve, you come in to liberate, right? You hear yourself as one of the oldest liberation movements in Africa. There it is. There's the assignment. So this is my parting thoughts for us. Firstly, there is an aspect of responsibility we need to take in terms of institution building, but we must also continue the fight. You know what I mean? Um, in terms of things like legislation, the BELA Bill, and so on, we gotta continue the fight. But that responsibility of institution building, man, we can't neglect that. So thank you, friends and enemies, for joining me. I acknowledge a lot of people don't like what I say on this channel, but in the same breath, many of you appreciate the ideas that we share here. You know, so thanks for joining me today on Ubuntu Awakening. This is your home. If you are part of Abantu globally, wherever you may be in the world, if you're part of Abantu, the melanated, the indigenous people, thank you for joining me. Remember, it's only through informed, constructive dialogue that we can shape a better future for ourselves. So if you enjoyed this episode, like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking discussions. And please let me know your thoughts in the comments. You know, what do you think about all of this Bella drama, Bella dramatic situation? Thank you for joining me. See you next time. Like, subscribe, share. One love, African family.